I am honored to be with you today to launch this strategic plan of the ministry. I am aware of it because, as the minister said, this passed through the cluster which I share, and also through the Council of Ministers. I am pleased that it has now come to light, and then we are celebrating its launch. Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs is a very important ministry in our structures, because it is the basis on which our legal organization is based. You are aware, every ministry, every unit in government has a legal advisor who does a lot of work to ensure that ministry is regulated and that legislations come to light before they come to the Ministry of Justice. So we attach a lot of importance to it in government. I'm happy that you have launched it before, or you have launched it now after we have made a decision in government that the transitional period be extended for another 2 years. This will give you a time to implement your strategic plans. I'm aware that you have implemented a lot of it, but you still have many to implement. So I want to call upon you to maximize the time, complete the implementation of this strategic plan within the period before we go for elections. Because most of the reforms that we are doing, whether reforms in justice administration or in the judiciary or in the other ministries, many of them, all these reforms have passed through this ministry. And the sooner you finish the aspects of your strategic plan, all other ministries would have also done that. Even if some of the ministries, because of legislation, might be a little bit behind. So I'm happy that we have launched it today. When I meet learned people like you, I always try to indulge in debate. And let me start it. This strategic plan is based on the peace agreement, the R-axis. The R-axis has many provisions that need to be implemented and even to be taken forward during the next coming government, which will be elected government. One of these important provisions is shift from decentralized government to a federal system of governance. You as lawyers will need to adjust to the new or to the coming system. Although the R-axis dictates us that we must devolve powers, resources to lower levels of government, we are still stuck. We have not moved towards this. And I believe that this ministry and all the legal fraternities should be involved in this matter. So you now have the time to look at these aspects so that when we move to the new system of governance, which is a federal system, we will be ready. We will be ready. Don't delay your participation in the process to the time when elections has come or to the time when we are discussing a federal system before the elections, or to the time when the constitution is being worked. I think it is now time for us to tackle these aspects. I could recall when the CPA was signed. At that time, there were provisions stating that the justice administration be decentralized, so that in the states, each state to have its own justice administration, and also each state to have its own judiciary. I know in our first constitution, the interim constitution for Southern Sudan, there was resistance. It was deferred that this would be done after 4 years, if you can recall that constitution. So we didn't move forward during the implementation of the CPA. Although when this provision was provided in the CPA, we were one country with the North, and we had a problem of the Sharia laws. We wanted to protect ourselves from the application of Sharia laws in Southern Sudan. And therefore, we labored hard to see that South Sudan has its own legal and judicial system. But at this level of the states, we said let's defer decentralization of these two bodies up to when 4 years have passed, up to the time when we would have established Southern Sudan Judiciary and the Ministry of Legal Affairs at that time. Now we're independent. And our people are calling for a federal system to be implemented in the country. Federalism, it will not only be in other aspects, but it will also include the justice system, the judiciary. So I hope we are preparing ourselves in this process. I have looked at the units that are established now. There are 14 units and there are 10 directorates of the ministry. But I haven't seen a unit which talks about devolution. Devolution. Maybe it is put inside one of the units. I'm also happy that you have decided to go the way our neighbors are doing in the justice system, where the Department of Public Prosecution is independent. We should do that because it is a development, it is a reform. It would help us so much if this is effective before we go for elections in 2026 December. I'm also concerned the legal well, let me say we word it differently. I had wished to know, since we became independent, how many legal people have we produced in our universities? Are we still producing every year 50? Or have we moved forward that our universities are producing a good number of law graduates who should help us in the legal system? Because it is you who will have to make the profession, the legal profession, popular. And if we're going to, if access to justice is going to be available without difficulties, we will need more legal persons in the states, in the counties, and even sometimes to the level of the payams. So I'm hoping that we should popularize the legal profession so that many of our young people join it. It doesn't become just a province of the few. Because for us to access justice, we need many advocates. They should not be concentrated in Juba. We need them in the states, at the capitals. We need them also in the counties, as we need judges at these levels of government. So I'm hoping that the ministry will lead in planning for such a situation. We now have a number of universities. Whether these universities do have departments, law departments, I need to know. I will need to know from the Minister of Higher Education. But my assessment is that we're still behind. We need to move faster so that we can have peace and stability. Justice, if there's justice in our society, our people will enjoy peace. And therefore it is one of the areas that we as a government and as a people should appreciate having such departments in universities. Employment does not need to be all in government. I'm also told that there is unemployment of law graduates. I hope we should resolve that. The market is there. The justice administration at all levels is there. The judiciary, if expands itself, should be able to observe these people. So this is when our society would be peaceful. I'm told still most of the litigation in our country is still customary, because the courts, the customer courts, are the ones handling most of the litigations. But I think it's because of lack of access to tertiary courts. If we do more, then we will reduce this percentage. This is one point I want to talk about. The Chief Justice says in our customary courts, all those who come to a court under the tree, they have a voice. This is a good system. Can we move it also to the courts? Can we do that? Come this digitalization. Can an ordinary person access, or can an ordinary person contribute to the process in the court with digitalization? But he also says that decisions are secret. But under the trees, they're not secret. That is why when a decision is made by a chief under the tree, all those who attended it would conform to it, because they said they have participated in it. Is it possible that with digitalization, somebody sitting in his room would say, Your Lordship, I see this case being discussed. This is my view. Is it possible? Because if we do it at the lower level, and if the courts are televised, people will have access. They'll have access to contribute to an opinion. They could be right, they could be wrong. I think in the modern world, courts are open to the press. They are open to the press. They are done transparently. There's no secrecy in it. The decisions are made, and the rest hear it without it being secretive. So since we practice it at the tree, we could also have a way to practice it in our formal courts. I want to come to digitalization. We should not be behind digitalization. We should compete with the rest who are now doing digitalization. I don't know whether I should take some statistics and say How many of you who are lawyers that do not know how to use computers? Can somebody raise his hand or her hand and say, I don't use it? I think all of you are using it now. I learned computers in 1972. At that time, we used pine cards. Can somebody remember pine cards? Pine cards. You go to a typer, then you pine your cards. From pine cards, you move to a rail. It will punch holes in it, and from it, you take it to the mainframe. To the mainframe computer. They used to be very big. But in less than 10 years, microcomputers came with screens that would be put in a room, but the computer is in a different room. And you would work from your screen, you get your output of your results elsewhere. 10 years later, it became the laptop, which is improving daily. If you have computers, you can access any library in the whole world. You can access the US Congress Library. If you speak Japanese, you can access them. Or even if you don't speak, they translate. So it is important what the Director General of NCA was talking about. We should move fast to digitalize so that we are not behind. It's not only in the ministries, but also we should do that in the universities and in our schools. Now is the time, wherever it is possible, to introduce computers. There are kids that are so good with their dad's telephones or their telephones, because the telephones have become computers in a way. So this is important. The ministry can lead. I hope your printing press is working in the ministry. If it has stopped working, let's start to make sure that it works, because it helps you. It helps you in publication of the laws so much that if somebody needs a copy, they can get it in a bookshelf. And it's also money generating for us. I know we have little money, we have difficulties. You might tell me, but Gurush Mafi. Okay, but others can support you when you have the interest that you want to do this, until we are able to stand on our own. Well, I came to celebrate, correctly with the song of Kimber, to celebrate the launch of this strategic plan. And in conclusion, I will declare it launched and we operationalize it. Thank you very much.